Hey Grand Adventurers, welcome back. I'm your host Mark Guido, and this week we're checking off another state by visiting historic Plymouth and beautiful Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Come along with us. This week's Grand Adventure will explore both sides of the Cape Cod Canal. Historic Plymouth, Massachusetts on one side, and beautiful Cape Cod on the other. Even though a canal across Cape Cod was envisioned as early as 1623 by Miles Standish of the Plymouth colony, the 7.4 mile long Cape Cod Canal didn't open to maritime traffic until 1914, shaving up to 135 miles off the journey around the Cape and turning Cape Cod into what's now essentially a man-made island. It mostly follows pre-existing tidal rivers that have been widened to 480 feet and deepened to 32 feet at mean low water. The canal is maintained as part of the Intracoastal Waterway by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Two narrow, identical four-lane bridges opened across the canal in 1935, the Bourne Bridge and the Sagamore Bridge, providing the only means by which vehicular traffic may access or leave Cape Cod, and generating endless traffic woes. The canal is also spanned by the Cape Cod Canal Railroad Bridge, a vertical lift bridge built at the same time as the twin vehicle bridges. The railroad bridge has a 544-foot main span with a 135-foot clearance when raised. At the time of its completion, it was the longest vertical lift span in the world. And today, it's the second longest lift bridge in the United States. Service roads on both sides of the canal provide access for fishing and are used by inline skaters, bicyclists, and walkers. North of the Cape Cod Canal, the town of Plymouth holds a place of great prominence in American history, folklore, and culture. It was the site of the colony, founded in 1620 by the Mayflower Pilgrims, where New England was first established. It is the oldest municipality in New England and one of the oldest in the entire United States. The English explorer John Smith named the area Plymouth after the city in southwest England, and also coined the term New England during his voyage of 1614. It was only a later coincidence that, after an aborted attempt to make the 1620 transatlantic crossing from Southampton, the Mayflower finally set sail for America from Plymouth, England. Throughout the 19th century, Plymouth thrived as a center of rope-making, fishing, and shipping. It was home to the Plymouth Cordage Company, formerly the world's largest rope-making company. It continues to be an active port, but today, its major industry is tourism. Many may be unaware that the Mayflower first landed on Cape Cod before delivering the Pilgrims to Plymouth. The ship was originally headed for the mouth of the Hudson River at what is today New York City. But with provisions running short, it did not go beyond Cape Cod, where the Mayflower anchored in Provincetown Harbor as the Pilgrims explored, and eventually found the sheltered waters of Plymouth Harbor on Cape Cod Bay perfect to build their settlement alongside. Today, the town of Plymouth is the largest municipality in Massachusetts by area, lining the entire western shoreline of Cape Cod Bay. The Mayflower II is a full-size replica of the original Mayflower. It is open as a museum about the Pilgrims' historic voyage from Plymouth, England, and is considered a faithful replica of the original Mayflower. The ship was built in Brixham, England in 1956, and sailed to Plymouth across the Atlantic Ocean in 1957. The ship is still seaworthy, and routinely takes voyages around Plymouth Harbor. This neoclassical revival portico along the Plymouth waterfront houses Plymouth Rock. Traditionally, Plymouth Rock is said to be the disembarkation site of the Pilgrims. However, it was only first identified in 1741 as their landing spot by 94-year-old Thomas Faunce, whose father had arrived in Plymouth in 1623, 3 years after the arrival of the Mayflower. The year of the Pilgrims' landing in Plymouth was carved into the rock in 1880. No other evidence exists to confirm that this is the rock, and not just a rock. but tourists nevertheless flock to the portico to take their selfies in front of Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Patuxent is a living history museum that consists of a recreation of the Plymouth settlement in 1627, as well as a replica of a 19th century native Wampanoag home site. The museum features role-playing tour guides, as well as a large craft center. The Nye Barn, a replica of a 1627 farming homestead in Plymouth, is also part of the museum that features several animals that would have been found in Plymouth Colony but are very rare in modern times. Plymouth has 9 public beaches, the largest being Plymouth Beach, which guards Plymouth Harbor and consists mostly of a 3-mile-long, ecologically significant barrier beach. We're spending our week in southeastern Massachusetts at Sandy Pond Campground, a privately owned and operated RV park conveniently located just a few short miles from the Cape Cod Canal, right near the town line between Plymouth and Bourne. It's also one of the few campgrounds in the area that has sites sufficiently open to the sky to accommodate our Starlink satellite internet. We're paying $516 for our week in a 50-amp full hookup site, or $73.71 per night, plus a $10 site lock fee to ensure our clear skies. We were disappointed to learn that nearby Massachusetts state parks would have cost us even more, as they charge non-residents over triple what they charge state residents. There are few inexpensive options for RV camping near Cape Cod. While Cape Cod is best known for its beautiful saltwater beaches, the area is also home to more than 1,000 lakes, one of which lends its name to this campground. We're We're sleeping well at Sandy Pond, thanks in no small part to not only the quiet serenity of the campground, but also the comfort and quality of our RV mattress from our video sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. Improve your sleep while camping with a new RV mattress from our video sponsor, Brooklyn Bedding. They offer 4 different mattress constructions in 21 different sizes, depending on preference and price point. Everything from standard queen to all of those funky, odd RV sizes. Brooklyn Bedding manufactures all of its mattresses right at their factory in Arizona. And RVmattress.com ships them right to your door for free, all rolled up and compressed in a vacuum seal. Just cut the wrap to unroll the mattress onto your bed, then cut the vacuum seal. For our mattress, Brooklyn Bedding starts with a layer of high-density foam for a supported base. Just above the base, an 8-inch core of over 1,000 individually encased coils provides the essential support. Immediately above the coils is a 1-inch layer of memory foam and 2-inch layer of hyper-elastic TitanFlex foam. Finally, at the very top is a 1.5-inch layer of antimicrobial CopperFlex foam with TitanCool, which is designed to maintain an ideal sleep body temperature of 88 degrees. Every RV mattress from Brooklyn Bedding comes with a 10-year warranty and a 120-night sleep trial. Visit RVmattress.com/GrandAdventure and use code GrandAdventure to get an extra 5% off their current on-site promotion. Of course, moving to Cape Cod this week has done nothing to stifle my obsession this season with dining on North Atlantic seafood. Yes, fried clams. Again. I also got to catch up with my ski friend and Cape Cod resident John for the first time in 16 years, over beers at Treehouse Brewing and Sandwich. And our dear friend Skip, a retired ski industry executive and a Parisian-trained chef, along with his 2 Labradors, invited us to his beautiful home in Falmouth for dinner. Zoe kept the boys in line. That's a corn souffle, which was light as a cloud. Skip just whipped that up while we were standing in the kitchen talking. And check out these beautiful brine pork chops. Skip can cook. Italian navigator Giovanni de Verrazzano was the first European to discover Cape Cod Bay in 1524. His claim proven by a map of 1529 which clearly outlined Cape Cod. Founded by a group of settlers from Saugus, Massachusetts in 1637 and incorporated in 1639, Sandwich is the oldest town on Cape Cod. It is named for the seaport of Sandwich, Kent, in England. Early industry revolved around agriculture, with fishing and trading also providing for the town. Today, most of the economy is centered on tourism. Sandwich is home to numerous art galleries, as well as rare book and antique stores. There are numerous museums and historic structures in Sandwich, with some dating to the 19th, 18th, and even 17th centuries. Hoxie House, this saltbox home dating to 1675, is the oldest structure still standing on Cape Cod. Today, it operates as a museum. The Dexter Grist Mill in the center of Sandwich began milling grain in 1654 and is the oldest remaining mill on Cape Cod. Falmouth was first settled by English colonists in 1660 and was officially incorporated in 1686. Bartholomew Gosnold named the settlement for Falmouth, Cornwall, England, his home port. Early principal activities were farming, saltworks, shipping, whaling, and sheep husbandry, which was very popular in the town's early years thanks to the introduction of merino sheep and the beginnings of water-powered mills that could process the wool. Nobska Light at Nobska Point is operated by the United States Coast Guard. The accompanying house served as the home of the commander of the Coast Guard base at Little Harbor until 2012. It's located near the division between Buzzards Bay, Nantucket Sound, and Vineyard Sound on the southwestern tip of Cape Cod, overlooking Martha's Vineyard and Nonamesset Island. The light station was established in 1828 and was replaced in 1876 by the current 42-foot tall iron tower. Before Joseph Hindley retired in 1973 and was replaced by Coast Guard personnel, he may have been the last civilian lightkeeper in New England. In 1985, the lighthouse was automated and the last Coast Guard lightkeeper retired. Today, the Friends of Nobska Light operate the lighthouse as a museum open to the public. The village of Woods Hole sits within the southwest corner of both the town of Falmouth and of Cape Cod itself, built around one of the few good natural harbors on the southern side of Cape Cod. The community became a center for whaling, shipping, and fishing prior to its dominance today by tourism and marine research, including the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, the Marine Biological Laboratory, the Woodwell Climate Research Center, NOAA's Woods Hole Science Aquarium, and the scientific institution's various museums. By 1872, the train had come to Falmouth and Woods Hole, and some of the first summer homes were established. Penzance Point, which shelters Woods Hole's harbor, was developed with shingle-style summer homes for bankers and lawyers from New York and Boston. By the late 19th century, cranberries were being cultivated and strawberries were being raised for the Boston market. Ferries operated by the Woods Hole, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket Steamship Authority run regularly between Woods Hole and Martha's Vineyard. The most commonly used ferry dock to travel to Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket, however, is located in Hyannis, the largest of the 7 villages that comprise the town of Barnstable in the central part of Cape Cod. Due to its large natural harbor, Hyannis is the largest recreational boating and second largest commercial fishing port on Cape Cod, behind only Provincetown, which we'll visit a bit later in this episode. The western side of the mouth of Hyannis Harbor is home to Kalmus Beach, which I used to windsurf back in the 1990s, as it's one of the few sites across the entire Northeast with a dependable thermal wind during the summer doldrums. It's also one of the few municipal beaches on Cape Cod that doesn't charge an exorbitant parking fee. Many of the ocean beaches on Cape Cod are private, and many that remain accessible to the public charge a steep price to park for the day. The southwestern shore of Hyannis is a neighborhood known as Hyannisport, where the Kennedy compound consists of 3 houses on 6 acres of waterfront property. Purchased in 1928, the compound became the place that the Kennedy family most associated with home. John F. Kennedy used the compound as a base for his successful 1960 U.S. presidential campaign, and later as a summer White House and presidential retreat. In addition to the John F. Kennedy Hyannis Museum, visitors will find the John F. Kennedy Memorial located on Ocean Street in Hyannis. The town of Barnstable extends from Hyannis on the ocean side of Cape Cod to Cape Cod Bay on the Cape's north side. Here, the town preserves a remarkable stretch of coastline known as Sandy Neck. Sandy Neck is a 6-mile-long spit of land extending east to west, sheltering Barnstable Harbor. During World War II, Sandy Neck was a naval bomb range for fleet-armed naval aviators. Today, this barrier beach, encompassing 4,700 acres of beautiful dunes, maritime forests, and marshes, is operated by the town as a recreation facility. It costs those without a resident beach parking permit $25 to access Sandy Neck and park during the day, but no fees are collected after 5 p.m. Off-road driving on the sand is allowed at Sandy Neck, but only with a pricey annual permit to do so. No short-term permits are available. Beach camping in self-contained RVs is also allowed for up to 96 hours for a reasonable nightly fee. But campers must also possess the expensive annual beach driving permit. Sandy Neck Light guards the entrance to Barnstable Harbor at the tip of Sandy Neck. It would require a 13-mile round-trip hike through deep sand to reach the lighthouse, which along with the surrounding college colony is private and off-limits to visitors anyway. So why not just fly there instead? Sandy Neck Light was first established in 1826. The current tower was built in 1857 and strengthened into the 1880s. It was discontinued in 1931, replaced by a skeleton tower, which was discontinued in 1952. The light was relit as a private aid to navigation in 2007. The cottages in the historic district adjacent to the lighthouse are mostly over 100 years old, as new construction in the area was forbidden during the 1960s. The cottages are individually owned and usually occupied during the summer months. Following a quick ad break, we'll bring you to the Outer Cape, including Cape Cod National Seashore and historic Provincetown, so stay tuned. Today we're heading to the Outer Cape, and this is probably as good a time as any to mention the incessant traffic on and around Cape Cod in summer. It doesn't matter the day of the week, and there's little differentiation by the time of day. This congestion is everywhere, and it takes forever to get anywhere, even short distances. In our opinion, the Outer Cape is the best of Cape Cod. Chatham is located at the elbow of Cape Cod at its southeastern tip. First settled by the English in 1664, Chatham is a fishing village transformed into a summer resort area. A popular attraction here is the Chatham Light, which is an operational lighthouse that is operated by the United States Coast Guard. The original station was built in 1808 with two wooden towers, which were both replaced in 1841. In 1877, new towers made of cast iron rings replaced those. The town of Chatham still boasts a quaint and walkable Main Street, home to numerous family-owned and operated shops, restaurants, and businesses. Cape Cod National Seashore encompasses 68 square miles here on the eastern side of Cape Cod, including nearly 40 miles of pristine beach facing the open Atlantic Ocean. It was created in 1961 when President Kennedy signed into law a bill he first co-sponsored as a senator a few years earlier. It is administered by the National Park Service. Here in the park's Fort Hill area, the Penniman House was built in 1868 at the end of the Victorian Age. It was styled after the French Second Empire period and built by local artisans using the finest materials available at the time. It was built for the family of the whaling captain Edward Penniman while the captain was out at sea. This house had the first kitchen and bath with indoor plumbing in Eastham and the first indoor flush toilet in town. The windows of the cupola were built high enough for the captain to observe the ships passing in both Cape Cod Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. The Fort Hill area also contains a number of trails for a relaxing stroll among the forests, fields, and salt marshes of the Outer Cape. On November 9, 1620, a ship named the Mayflower made her first landfall in the New World, at what is now the National Seashore's Coast Guard beach. Captain Jones, knowing that his Pilgrim passengers were supposed to settle in Northern Virginia, then headed southeastward. Although he stayed well offshore to avoid shoals, his ship soon became enmeshed in the worst of them in the area, Pollock Rip, south of present-day Chatham. A miraculous change of wind enabled Jones to sail his ship free of the shoals, and he then turned northward to anchor in Provincetown Harbor. The present Nauset Lighthouse, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, is made of cast iron with a brick lining and stands 48 feet high. It was built in 1877 and was originally located in Chatham as a twin to the one that is there today. Nauset Lighthouse was painted red and white in the 1940s as a daytime indicator. In 1981, the light's Fresnel lens was replaced by 2 rotating arrow beacons. Thanks to coastal erosion, by 1996, the lighthouse was dangerously close to the cliff, fewer than 35 feet away. It was moved in one piece, approximately 300 feet, to this new site across the road. The Three Sisters Lighthouses, originally completed on the bluff in 1838, approximately 500 feet east of where the present Nauset Lights now stands, are now positioned inland, nearby, in their original configuration. This historic but unassuming hut is the remnant of a French cable company that in 1879 laid a transatlantic cable from France to the island of St. Pierre off Newfoundland, and then on to Cape Cod. This small hut acted as a connection point for an extension of the cable from offshore to Orleans. The telegraph cable was operated until 1940, when France surrendered to Germany during World War II. The Marconi Area obtained its name from the famous Italian inventor. From a site here, Marconi successfully completed the first transatlantic wireless communication between the U.S. and England in 1903, sending messages between the President of the United States and the King of England. The Highland Light is an active lighthouse within the National Seashore in North Truro. The current tower was erected in 1857, replacing 2 earlier towers that had been built in 1797 and 1831. It is the oldest and tallest lighthouse on Cape Cod. We'll get to the very end of Cape Cod at Race Point and Provincetown, right after one more ad break to pay the bills. Cape Cod ends at Provincetown, at the Cape's extreme tip, Race Point, another sector of the National Seashore. Here, dunes line pristine light sand beaches. Here, short-term permits for oversand travel are available. Qualifying self-contained four-wheel drive motorhomes and truck campers can also camp overnight along the off-road vehicle corridor. Trailers are not permitted at any time. It was here, in Provincetown Harbor, that the Pilgrims anchored the Mayflower and made plans for their new life in the New World. They drew up the Mayflower Compact and set about exploring Cape Cod Bay before deciding to settle in Plymouth. The Pilgrims' anchorage in Provincetown Harbor is commemorated by the Pilgrim Monument, a 252-foot tower built between 1907 and 1910 that dominates the sky above Provincetown. Provincetown's year-round summer population of less than 4,000 swells to over 60,000 with summer tourists. Referred to locally as P-Town, Provincetown is a vacation destination for its beaches, harbor, artists, and tourist industry. Following the American Revolution, Provincetown grew rapidly as a fishing and whaling center. By the 1890s, Provincetown was booming and began to develop a resident population of writers and artists, as well as a summer tourist industry. By the early decades of the 20th century, the town had acquired an international reputation for its artistic and literary production. It's now time for us to once again fight the Cape Cod traffic and get back to break camp for our move to Newport, Rhode Island for next week's Grand Adventure. We sincerely hope that you've enjoyed visiting Plymouth and the Cape with us. Now, coming up next week, we're going to be making one of our shortest moves of the entire season, heading for Newport, Rhode Island. So if you're not yet one of our Grand Adventurers, there is no better time than now for you to go smash that little subscribe button right down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. And ring that notification bell to be sure that you never miss a Grand Adventure, which we premiere right here every Wednesday evening. We'd be honored if you shared the channel with your friends, family, and on social media. Understand, it is extremely important to us that if you liked this episode, please be sure to give us a big thumbs up down below. And while you're down below, you'll find the comment section down there, which is where we'd love to hear from you each and every week. So until next Wednesday, from Newport, Rhode Island, please remember life is nothing but a grand adventure. We'll see you then.